one thing I want to show you before we print this out is just in case you end up in the shop and your tube, whatever way it's oriented in the tube bender, it can't do it because one or more parts of it is rotated into the tube bender, and you would need to either reverse the bend order or just completely change the part. You need to know how to do that and come back to this to change things. So what you're going to do is, and this is one of the best features about this software, is we're going to go to parts, and let's see how this part, the right mainframe, let's see how that would actually be bent and how it looks. So once you select the part you want to look at, we're going to go transfer, custom part. And what that does is that just brings this tube into a separate window, and we can, up here at the top, you'll see part details and bend order. We're going to select that, and it brings up this window. And this is what's really, really cool about this, is we can hit play, and it's going to go through and bend that tube exactly how you're going to bend it in the shop. All right, so if you're ever confused with what your blueprint's telling you, pull this window up for each part, hit play, and it will show you exactly how you're rotating it and how you're bending it. Now, if you wanted to reverse this, so you just hit reverse bending order, you'll click that, hit play, and it'll bend that center part first and then the top part. Or if we just want to do it standard, that is a really, really good part to this software, is when we get parts like this, even though this has only got just a small rotation in it, it can be really confusing out in the shop to know what way we're rotating this. If you zoom in right here, this is showing you the orientation of your angle finder. This would mean that this flat side, this is the part where your angle finder will sit on. All right, so the gauge would be facing the machine, this tubing, and as we press play, you can see it actually rotating. So restart it. You can see it rotate as you bend. So if you're ever confused on what side you want this thing to sit on when you're rotating it out in the shop, just pull up this window and it'll set you straight. We're just going to hit cancel, and we'll close this window. One thing that's nice as well is if you do lose part of your blueprint, or you do have to redesign just one part or one aspect to your drawing, you can pull up this window and you should be able to print just this page, or just jot down these instructions, and you can take that out in the shop and do it versus have to print the whole setup again. And close it. Do I want to save this part? No. All right. Now, when you go to print your setup pack, you'll hit details, and on this window, you'll see a couple different things. One of the really cool, neat parts of this as well is it tells you the amount of tubing that you've got in this one part or project. So you know already before you go out in the shop and start cutting up material, how much in total you have in whatever material you're using. So 382 inches, that is 31, almost 32 feet in 1 inch round tubing. The other cool thing is, I haven't done it for this 1 inch round tubing on this computer, is you can go online and figure out the weight of this and punch it in on this software, and it'll tell you how much your frame weighs. The reason that would be important is if you're building a drag bike, then you would want that frame as light as possible and still be structurally sound. If you were building a sled puller, weight is actually your friend, and so a heavier frame would help you to some extent. And this feature, knowing what it weighs and how much material you've got, is really cool. So once we pull up details and go down here to Setup Pack. You'll click that, and it's going to have this printing options screen come up. I like to have mine printed in landscape just because we put these in our portfolios. And we've got all of these options selected as far as assembly image. It's going to be, it'll print whatever is in this window. Your cutting wrappers, your straight tube lengths, and your bending instructions. So you would click OK if you're connected to your printer, and it will print this out for you. I'll show you on my project, I'm actually going to be building this part, or this project, not this one. I'm building this drag trike frame in this video series. This is what I will go through and show you how to read your blueprint while I build my drag trike. All right. Now, before I close this out, I'm going to show you how to add and change or edit your tubes and dies from this point here. So at the top, you'll see tools, die library, tube library, plate, all these different libraries. Your spring back library, that's really important, is because, like I mentioned in my safety videos, but I'll do the same out in the shop when I'm making this project, is in your spring back, we've got our, oh, this is the, yeah, so it'll pull up this window, but we'll click the spring back. Now I've already added this for our 1-inch round tubing. And what's important about this is metal has memory, all right? So if we want our angle, our achieved angle, to be 90 degrees, we actually have to bend it past 90 all the way to 96 degrees so that it actually will spring back into 90 degrees. And I'll explain this in the shop when I'm bending my tube, but for each different material, because what we're using in the shop is 0.083 thousandths thick tubing. That's the wall thickness of the tubing we're using. And I know, because I've measured it out in the shop, it's 6 degrees. We have to bend it 6 degrees past. Now, when we're talking things like square tubing, I haven't generated this on this computer, but I know that the achieved angle that I want would be 90, and my spring angle, just from in the past with the same wall thickness, the 083, and I think even 120 wall thickness, I had to bend it 11 degrees past 90 to get it to spring back to 90 degrees. So 11 degrees plus 90 degrees. We're going to punch that in, and oh, my computer's going to die. Yikes. 101. And hit OK. So it'll give you all of these different achieved angle and spring angles. We're going to hit add. Oh, no, cancel. We'll hit save before we close that. And now we've got that saved to that die. Now we're going to go and add our tube and dies. So tube, it'll pull up this window, and I don't have 2-inch round tubing in here yet. So we're going to hit add new, name, go 2-inch round tube. Oops. We're using round tube here. If we were changing it, make sure you're selecting the right shape here. Weight per inch, if you look that up, you're fine. You can also change the color of whatever tubing. I like to keep mine all about the same. And you can change the metric measure. This is America, so America, we use inches. The wall thickness, let's say 0.083 like our other stuff, and 1.5. And we'll hit save. Now that's added over here, our 2-inch round tubing. Now, if we're going to add our dies, we'll hit die library. And I don't have a 2-inch die in here, so I'm going to hit add new. We're using this die. We're going to actually come over to our OEM list, and our BendTech calibration, it actually has a whole bunch of benders already put in their software. You just got to find your model. Ours is the RDB 150 by Bailey, and it'll bring up this window here. And the right side number, that is the material size, and the left number is the die's radius. Now, since I added the 2-inch round tube, I'm going to select that and hit to import, and I'll add to this round tubing and hit OK. All right, now I've added that die to this computer's library. We'll hit close. We're going to also close this as well. Now, some other tools, or I guess options, is when we go through and add this, if this is your first time setting it up, there are some things you would like to change before you get out in the shop. One of them would be the lengths. This is what it's going to break it down as far as precision or whatever you've got to use measurement wise out in the shop. I like mine to go down to the 1/16 of an inch. So we use fractions and 1/16 of an inch. You can use decimals if you've got calipers or micrometers, or down to the 32nd, whatever, but we use the 1/16 fraction. Now, you can go in and you can change a lot of different things here, but that's the main one here is the lengths will be fractions and down to the 1/16th, and we're going to be measuring in inches. Now, once you've changed whatever you've changed, then we will hit save, and then you're able to move on. Now, there are a whole bunch of other things that you can add or change in here, but I would recommend leaving it as whatever BendTech's already got it set up. And that is the gist. I know I ran through a lot and I didn't cover everything, but the best way to figure a lot of this stuff out is by just kind of running through this and doing some guesswork and some practicing and trying it out for yourself. There are a lot of features that I learn every day. There was nobody here to teach me how to do this. I just had kind of figured it out on my own. The next videos, if you're watching through, I will, like I said, be out in the shop working on this build. See you soon.